I know that there's been a lot of craziness in the United States lately, but I would like to make sure that I properly highlight my own home country of Canada because there is just as much ridiculous shit going on here right now. This one came out fresh today, but we got a bunch of different stories across the entire or the countries rather. And yeah, it's a really sad state of affairs. If you guys get Biden down in the States, anticipate a lot more of this shit because that dickhead you see right square in the middle of your screen, no, not me, assholes, I'm off in the corner. That one in the middle there, he is our wonderful leader who you should never question whatsoever because he has a long and illustrious history of being a journalist and a drama teacher and the son of a very hated prime minister. Don't let your fucking leftists professors fool you. Pierre Trudeau was fucking hated in the West for very good reasons, for the exact same reasons why, well, people hate Justin Trudeau over here, because he's actively trying to kill the oil and gas industry. Does that sound familiar? And he is just such a divisive little friend of people over here. Anyways, I would like to do, once everything calms down, I just want to properly catalog all three of his ethics violations, which he can just go right on camera onto any one of his fucking mouthpiece organizations out here, CTV, CBC, Global News. They'll just give him a platform and he'll go, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake," and then it'll all just go away, regardless of how many times he fucks up. But this one here, I don't know how the fuck he's gonna legitimately get out of it, but it's Canada. It's kind of like fucking, you just take a look at what a socialist influence that, the Squad and everything would have in the United States, and then just push that like a decade into the future, and that's what kind of banana republic you guys would end with. Anyways, 5 years worth of documents ordered in WeProbe, which was his third ethics violations, which, okay, to give you a little background on this, Justin Trudeau's mother and his wife were paid to speak at this We organization. Now they hold a bunch of different public speaking, kind of these fucking feel good without having any substance. It's kind of like going to a Tony Robbins conference, but instead of having real strategies in order to improve your life, they just tell you that, oh, you're great however you are, and if you want to, chop off your dick when you're 6 years old because you feel like it that day, that is totally fine. It's a fucking ridiculous little organization where it just makes people feel good. We'll bring in celebrities. Does that one ring true again? And yeah, we'll just tell you that everything that you're doing is great, but yeah, don't offer you any sort of solutions to life. And so to circle back around to Justin Trudeau's mom and wife, they would speak at these events, and they illegally got paid for doing those speaking events. Now, I will be talking about that in much more secretive detail because the We Foundation was getting paid by the Liberal government, who Justin Trudeau was in charge of, and it's a big sketchy situation, and there was supposed to be a whole lot of deep dive into that, and you've heard me reference Jagmeet Singh, who is the leader of the NDP party, which I don't know, it's supposed to be further left than the Liberals, but that's a really tough differentiation to make at this point in time. They are, whatever, between the two of them, they can force together a coalition government, and it prevents the minority government that the Liberals are in. See how fucking retarded these multi-party governments are? It gets so fucking ridiculous. So the NDP and the Liberals can make a majority government if they pool their power together, and because they're essentially socialist light style governments, they can, rule as a majority. And all of the policies that the NDP like get influenced over on the Liberal side, and there's not really too much of a swaying that needs to go on because they, for all intents and purposes, govern on the same kind of lectern. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of background. So this is what makes this a little bit disturbing. So like it says, 5 years worth of documents ordered in WeProbe on Trudeau's speaking fees destroyed. Yeah, it's really tough to prove anything, any kind of fraud that's going on. Is that what, third or fourth reference that might ring true? If you destroy all the evidence. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's talent agency has, he lacks any of that, has destroyed 5 years of records on speaking fees. Blacklock's reporters reports. Tongue twister. The records date between the years 2008 and 2013, prior to him ascending to the throne that was bequeathed to him by having the Trudeau last name. The Parliamentary Ethics Committee requested records on all of Trudeau's speaking engagements since 2008 with a Speaker Spotlight Toronto. The committee has been seeking the records since July. but has been subject to filibusters by Liberal MPs to prevent their release. The revelation is likely to fuel further accusations of corruption against the Liberal Party and Justin Trudeau. Opposition parties attempted to set up a committee to investigate corruption in government in response to the We Charity scandal, but the motion was shot down after the Liberals threatened to dissolve government and call an election mid-pandemic if the motion was passed. Which, like I said before, I forget which video it was, I wholeheartedly expect Justin Trudeau to call a snap election, which would be before his term is up, in order to create a majority by using mail-in ballots. He is just waiting for it to be proved or unproved by the Supreme Court of the United States whether or not a country on that scale could have an election with absolutely zero voter fraud. That's why I think that this is so important to Canadians and, well, anybody else with, I don't want to say corrupt government, but you can probably hear me winking. According to the Liberal Party, such a motion would be treated as a non-confidence vote because in this case, whenever a motion gets put forward by the minority government, if they are voted against it, they immediately lose their power and have to go into a state of dissolution and results in a federal election. Or any kind of minority-held house becomes subject to a dissolution as well. It's so stupid and fucking complicated. The Prime Minister in October released his own records of speaking fees dating between 2006 and 2013, which he collected over 1.3 million. Now, he was just a lowly drama teacher and sometimes MP during this time, so what he did in his own time in the private sector is totally up to him, but yeah, the same accusations can be leveled against Hunter Biden, by the way. Trudeau's speaking fees greatly increased after he became an MP in 2008, averaging $20,000 per engagement. Liberal Party House Leader Pablo Rodriguez, I didn't know there were any Mexicans in Canada, that's weird, I'm friends with a Guatemalan, described the move as a demonstration of transparency, and Speaker Spotlight has claimed that Trudeau's records are authentic. So does that raise any concerns? I guess not. Conservative MP Michael Barrett questioned how Speaker Spotlight could confirm the authenticity of Trudeau's records after having destroyed their own copies of them. Interestingly, this committee ordered those documents in the previous session, Barrett said, further arguing that Canadians need these answers. And we won't get them. We won't get them because you don't dare question dear leader. Because he's the man with the beautiful coif, and he has a great speaking voice, and he's definitely very eloquent when he has a teleprompter put in front of him. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like pre-2016 United States for, I don't know, like an 8-year period? Maybe I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but I think you can draw the parallels. We'll just circle back around to Dickhead. I just want to go ahead and highlight something else that's very important to Canadians, very much more so than their federal government. That is not grammatically correct, but I do get fairly amped up when I'm talking about Canadian federal government because it's been a disaster for, 5 years at this point? Banning body checking in hockey. This one is not a news story, but it is fucking preposterous. Okay, for most Americans, hockey when it comes to the big four sports is far and away the fourth on that totem pole. And for me personally, I haven't given a shit about hockey since, oh my god, when was it? Vancouver and Boston were in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think that was like 2011. That was only because I could fucking make fun of the opposition. I was a Bruins fan, still am. But when it comes to body checking and fighting, it's essential to the game. I think if you have a passing knowledge of hockey, you understand that it's very, very important. Now, when this story first broke, I didn't know how to approach it because it was just so bloody preposterous. Like, okay, I understand that there are some European leagues out there that get away with no contact, but when these kids who have been playing with body checking for, I don't know, the better part of their life at this point, and this isn't for the NHL, this is for just a step underneath. It's another one of those things where instead of going to college and university, while there is paths now to get to the NHL by going to college and university, normally you go through these junior programs in the WHL, the OHL, QMJHL, and the like, and it works a lot like European football, soccer's programs where they get the kids at like 13 years old and then they work them up through the club system. It's like that, but it starts at about 16 years old and they get on these junior teams and they go around. So physical contact in hockey is essential. It'd be like switching the NFL to flag football all of a sudden. And don't think that that might not be floated in the not too distant future. Anyways, let's get to the story here. As the Ontario Hockey League gears up to begin its season in February 2021, Commissioner David Branch has declared if these studies that really clearly state that body contact is a contributor in the spread of the virus, the one that we have a vaccine on the horizon for, then obviously we'll have to look at it. But we've not looked at it yet. In stark contrast, Lisa MacLeod, Ontario's Minister of Sport. What does that bitch have to do with sport? Was she a cheerleader once? Or is she one of those straight women who used to play field hockey? Ontario's Minister of Sport, like I said, already believes that removing purposeful contact is necessary to prevent COVID-19 from spreading. Okay, this kind of safety over, just regular common sense thought is something that is completely preposterous in my opinion. Honestly, these kids are in tip-top shape. You will not find better athletes, I hazard to say, on earth than hockey players. To be completely honest, they run intense practices. Throughout the course of the game, you're running in all three of the different energy producing systems in your body, the anaerobic, the anaerobic, and the lactic acid producing energy systems. Like, they are very fine-tuned athletes, and being physically fit and being, nutritionally sufficient has a lot to do with your effectiveness in combating the Chinese flu, by the way. So for Moms McLeod there to think that we need to get rid of body checking because, oh no, somebody might get a cough throughout the season. These are the same animals who share one fucking water bottle up and down the ice. I don't think that they care that much, to be completely honest. And if you took an honest poll of most professional athletes, and like I said, this isn't at the professional level, this is at the junior level, I don't think that they care as much as they're being told to care. Well, you look at what's happening with the Las Vegas Raiders, and they pretty much get fined every single week for not wearing the stupid masks and not socially distancing because men like to play sports. And you know what? If this was something legitimately to be fearful of, they would take it seriously. But yeah, you're trying to curtail masculinity at every single corner, and you want to do it right at the mecca of testosterone in professional sports. It's not going to work, bitch, okay? And it better not work, because if they bow at this pace or on this level, there is no coming back from it. You might as well just fire up those gray jumpsuits and we'll all start living in that emotionless world. But like I said, it hasn't been decided. Like, okay, yeah, David Branch, the commissioner of the league, has says, yeah, we'll think about it. But Ontario is currently fucking locked down. Not as bad as Quebec, but it's approaching there because cases keep going up and, like, I don't know, a handful of fucking old folks keep dying. Whatever, who gives a shit? But like I said, we'd circle back around to this fucking spineless bitch. Trudeau calls on premiers and mayors to do the right thing as COVID caseloads rise. Yeah, we've pretty much got it under control at this point, as much as anybody's going to. I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do, but lockdowns aren't the answer, because you are just fucking creating more poverty than you're actually saving lives. The people who have it right are the ones who want to quarantine the people who are at the highest risk for that, and the sick themselves, not people who need to, make money in order to survive and stay off the streets. I didn't think that this was something that we needed to be discussing 9 months into this fucking pandemic, when even the World Health Organization acknowledges that lockdowns are not the right thing to do. Let's see what dipshit has to say here. Trudeau publicly called on the country's premiers and mayors to do the right thing and impose restrictions to counter the recent rise in COVID-19 cases. Why is that the right thing when everybody tells you that it's not the right thing to do? But that's what happens when you are governed by feelings and not by, facts and reason. But hey, most of the people apparently voted for him and would vote for him again at a 40% clip. We fucking believe it or not. We're seeing record spikes this morning across the country, so I'm imploring the premiers and mayors to please do the right thing. Act now to protect public health. Suck my dick. But you know who listened to that call? The fucking idiot who's running Manitoba. Because they have 348 new cases. That is 348, not 348,000, not even 3,480 cases. 348, and a handful of people died. While one life is too many, we can go ahead and kill off any other small business that could potentially be struggling right now. The Manitoba government announces the entire province will be moving to the critical or red level of the pandemic response. How apropos that everybody's moving into a state of redness. See what Comrade Brian Pallister and Dr. Brent Rousen, Chief Provincial Public Health Officer, made the announcement at a news conference on Tuesday. Our number one priority through this entire process is protecting most vulnerable citizens. Then lock those down. Stop punishing legal, law-abiding citizens, okay? We are all vulnerable to COVID. No, we aren't. We have empirical evidence that says not everybody's vulnerable to it. If you want to protect people for a virus that has a 0.001% chance of actually taking your life if you're under the age of 65, then you're not the person who should be in charge of a bunch of people. So this is what you can expect if you're in Manitoba. Reduced social contacts in your household only. Social gatherings aren't allowed. Fuck off. Restricting travel to and from northern Manitoba. Non-essential travel is discouraged. If we had a right to assembly, that would be currently suspended. Retail businesses are listed as critical services, such as grocery and pharmacy, can stay open at 25% capacity. It's like we don't know anything about the virus anymore. It just immediately went out of everybody's head and we're just back to square one. Fucking stupid. Retail businesses that aren't listed as critical services can provide e-service, curbside pickup, and delivery. Unless you're like that Jewish deli owner in New York City who had his door open because his kitchen was getting hot and he wasn't, didn't have the best of airflow situation, so he opened up his door and then he got served a fine. Yeah. So you know what? Watch for that if you're, I don't know, what's the equivalent demographic, the Inuit, maybe, perhaps. It's just legitimately back to square one. Closing gyms and fitness centers. Fucking disgusting. Yep. Closing religious and cultural gatherings. But they can be provided virtually. Just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Everything that my American viewers know to be in the First Amendment, the right to assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of religious liberty, automatically just gets crumpled up and thrown out the fucking window up here. So, live in fear, guys. Live in fear. Or just, know the facts and understand that this is stupid and maybe just go peacefully protest this. Or if they decide that they want to bust up your peaceful protest, just on the other side of your banner, just have Black Lives Matter and then automatically you're immune from the virus, right? And speaking of parallels with the United States, how about this fucking brainlet idea? Calgary City Council ignores opinion of citizens, tries copying US politics with foolish defund the police move. Okay, if you are outside of Canada, you might not get the fact that Alberta is a deeply conservative state, and Calgary forever has been one of the most deeply conservative cities, and it is the largest city in Alberta. Now, that might seem like a bit of a contradiction, but it really isn't, because our last great premier, was previously the mayor of Calgary, and all the way up to this fat-headed asshole produced a bunch of conservative politicians in the mayoral position. Like Ralph Klein, Peter Lougheed, they were all former conservative politicians that came out of Calgary. And in fact, Stephen Harper's riding used to be in Calgary, so that should let you know a couple of things. So this is just absolutely brain dead. In Calgary, 35% were considered true blue, which means deeply conservative, and supported the police, which obviously 35%. We don't have this racial tension as much as Justin Trudeau likes to drive the wedge issue between the natives and not natives. I don't get it. We've had relative harmonious existence for at least my entire lifetime, but yeah, that was his wedge issue, just like Obama pitted African Americans against Americans. So anyways, 22% were considered silent supporters, 21% considered themselves ambivalent observers. So you had 57% who were vocal, would-be supporters, and then overall 78% of people considered themselves to be in support, or at least neutral on the topic. But they're going to govern from the 22% who wanted the police to be defunded. You would have to search long and hard to find any sort of racial strife or any sort of legitimate police brutality claims coming out of the Calgary Police Department. So this makes a fucking ridiculous claim. I really don't get this. I was shocked to read this. In fact, Calgary is one of the most pro-police cities in the country for reasons that I just stated. In all cities, including Toronto, support for the defunding the police never reached higher than 39%. I don't know. I took all of the advanced math classes in high school and actually finished at the top of one of my math classes in 2012. Oh, not 2012. I was well out of high school by then. In 12th grade. Not to brag or anything, but last time I checked, 39% isn't a majority. But like I said, I've been out of high school for a while. Yet, we have just witnessed the Calgary City Council ignore the clear opinions of Calgarians and voted to defund the police. How much are they going to defund them? Yeah, it looks like they're going to be cutting $20 million out of the Calgary police budget. That's fucking stupid. They've done nothing wrong, and Edmonton has also cut $11 million out of their police budget. That is the capital of Alberta, by the way, and they always lead the entire province in monthly homicides, and it has spiked ever since the summer as well, because they've had their fucking Black Lives Matter marches. It sounds so fucking stupid to hear Canadians march for that brilliant brainlet cause. But hopefully that gives you a little snapshot on what's going on up here in Canada, and I know I got a fairly sizable portion of the people who can watch my videos here are Canadian as well, so I think I'd be doing you guys a disservice to constantly be covering the United States elections and not touch on the hypocrisy, the corruption, and the absolute bizarre nature of what's happening in Canadian politics. And, you know, I'm very, very interested in the path that Canada's going down, and right now we're seeing a race to the bottom, and good luck passing us, but we all know that we can put our heads on our pillows at night and wake up in the morning and things can be vastly, vastly different. Just a final little election joke there if you got it. Anyways, guys, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.